What if the shirt you bought for $19 cost someone else their future? Zara. Minimalist, elegant, modern. To millions of people, Zara represents affordable luxury. But behind the polished stores and trendy collections exists a hidden system built on speed, pressure, psychology, and endless consumption. Because Zara didn't just change fashion, it changed human behavior itself. Tonight, we uncover the dark truth behind one of the most powerful fashion empires on Earth. Before Zara, fashion moved slowly. New collections arrived only a few times per year. People bought clothes seasonally. Styles lasted years. Then came Amancio Ortega, a quiet man from Spain who would eventually become one of the richest people on Earth. But Ortega didn't build his empire by making luxury clothing. He built it by destroying the old rules entirely. Instead of fashion seasons, Zara created permanent urgency, and that changed everything. Walk into Zara today. Notice something strange? The clothing changes constantly. What you saw last week is already gone. That's not accidental. It's psychological engineering. Zara mastered something called artificial scarcity. The strategy is simple. If customers fear missing out, they buy immediately. No waiting, no rational thinking, no comparison shopping, just emotion. Fear becomes profit. And Zara perfected this system better than almost anyone. Fast fashion didn't just sell clothes. It rewired modern culture. People became addicted to novelty. Social media accelerated the cycle. Suddenly, repeating outfits felt embarrassing. New aesthetics appeared every week. Clean girl, old money, quiet luxury, mob wife. And Zara became the perfect supplier for internet culture. The company transformed fashion into dopamine, not self-expression, addiction. Most fashion brands take months to create collections. Zara can react in weeks, sometimes days. How? Because Zara operates like a tech company disguised as a clothing brand. Store managers constantly report customer behavior, what people touch, what they ignore, what colors sell fastest. Every detail becomes data. That information travels directly into production. Fashion became an algorithm, and the entire industry copied the model. Now comes the uncomfortable question. How can clothing become this cheap? The answer is simple. Someone else pays the price. Over the years, fast fashion supply chains have repeatedly faced accusations involving low wages, extreme overtime, unsafe conditions, exploitative subcontracting. And Zara has faced criticism connected to labor conditions within parts of its supply chain. Investigations in countries including Brazil exposed shocking factory environments tied to suppliers. Tiny rooms, long hours, minimal pay, all to feed the endless speed of fast fashion. And most consumers never see any of it because the system hides suffering behind beautiful storefronts. Factories compete under brutal pressure because in fast fashion, speed is everything. If a supplier delivers too slowly, they lose contracts. If they increase costs, they risk replacement. So factories cut corners everywhere possible. Workers become numbers. Exhaustion becomes normalized. And the faster fashion moves, the worse the pressure becomes. Fast fashion is now one of the most polluting industries on Earth. Billions of garments are produced every year. Many are worn only a few times. Some are never worn at all. The consequences are catastrophic. Chemical pollution, water waste, microplastics in oceans, overflowing landfills. And Zara helped normalize this system globally. Clothing became disposable, not durable. Temporary content for social media. then thrown away. Social media supercharged fast fashion. Trends no longer lasted months, sometimes not even weeks. Consumers became trapped in an endless cycle. See trend, want trend, buy trend, replace trend, again and again and again. Fashion stopped being personal. It became algorithmic identity. Zara has repeatedly faced criticism over designs that allegedly resembled the work of independent artists and luxury brands. Because originality takes time and speed rewards imitation. Small creators often lack the power to fight global corporations legally. Meanwhile, giant fashion companies can mass-produce similar aesthetics worldwide within weeks. The imbalance is enormous, and consumers rarely notice. One of Zara's greatest achievements was making cheap clothing feel expensive. The stores are carefully engineered, minimalist design, soft lighting, luxury atmosphere. Because Zara doesn't just sell clothes, it sells status, the feeling of being close to luxury without paying luxury prices. And that illusion became worth billions. The darker truth may be this: fast fashion profits from insecurity. If consumers felt satisfied, they would buy less. So the industry constantly creates emotional pressure. You're behind, outdated, unfashionable. Then it sells the solution: a new outfit, a new identity, a temporary emotional fix. Zara had started as a small store in Spain, a fast, affordable alternative to luxury fashion. But over time, it transformed into something much bigger than anyone could have imagined. It stopped being just another clothing retailer and became a global cultural force, one powerful enough to influence the way millions of people dressed, shopped, and even thought about fashion itself. Wherever Zara expanded, it didn't just sell clothes. It brought a certain visual language with it, a certain taste, a certain idea of what looked modern, stylish, and relevant. And slowly, almost without people noticing, that influence began spreading across the world. Walk through major cities thousands of miles apart, whether in Europe, Asia, the Middle East, or North America, and something strange starts to happen. The differences begin to blur. The same storefront designs, the same clean interiors, the same muted color palettes, the same oversized blazers, the same neutral-toned outfits hanging in perfectly organized sections. Fashion, which once reflected local identity, culture, and regional personality, started feeling increasingly standardized. Cities that once looked visually different began resembling one another. Shopping districts started carrying the same brands. Window displays began following the same aesthetics, and trends spread faster than ever before. What someone wore in Madrid could suddenly appear in Seoul, Dubai, London, or New York just weeks later. For some people, this felt exciting. Fashion had become more accessible than ever. Styles that once belonged only to luxury magazines or elite fashion circles could now be worn by ordinary people at affordable prices. Zara helped democratize style in a way the industry had never really seen before. You no longer needed designer money to look fashionable. You just needed access to the latest drop. But for others, something important felt lost in the process. As global fashion accelerated, local uniqueness slowly began fading into the background. Traditional styles became less visible. Regional fashion identities weakened. Local boutiques struggled to compete against massive international chains that could react faster, produce cheaper, and dominate prime locations in city centers. In many places, walking into a shopping mall started feeling strangely familiar, almost predictable. The same stores, the same mannequins, the same collections, the same trends repeating themselves across continents. Fashion globalization had created convenience, but it had also created sameness. And whether people admired it or criticized it, Zara stood right at the center of that transformation. Because Zara didn't just adapt to global fashion. In many ways, it helped define it, becoming not only one of the biggest clothing brands in the world, but also one of the clearest symbols of a world slowly starting to dress the same. Every year, millions of tons of clothing are discarded. Some burned, some buried, some shipped to poorer nations already overwhelmed by waste. Synthetic fabrics can remain for decades, possibly longer, and the cycle continues accelerating because the system depends on endless consumption. But just when it seemed like Zara had perfected the system, the industry evolved again. And this time, the pace became even more aggressive, even more digital, even more difficult to escape. Because a new generation of companies entered the game, and they weren't simply trying to compete with fast fashion. They were trying to reinvent speed itself. Brands like Shein pushed the entire model to levels that once would have sounded impossible. Where Zara had mastered reacting to trends quickly, these new companies were designed to predict, test, and manufacture trends almost instantly. The old rhythm of fashion started collapsing. Weeks became days, days became hours, and trends that once lasted seasons could suddenly disappear overnight. Everything accelerated. The clothes became cheaper, the product turnover became faster, and the shopping experience itself became engineered for constant consumption. Instead of carefully browsing a store, consumers now found themselves trapped inside endless digital feeds. Swipe, refresh, scroll, new arrivals, flash sales, limited time offers, thousands of products appearing endlessly, tailored to personal taste by algorithms quietly studying every click, pause, and purchase. Fashion stopped feeling like occasional shopping. It started feeling like a constant stream of temptation, a system designed to never really end. And unlike traditional fashion brands, these companies weren't waiting for designers to decide what mattered. The internet was doing that for them. The next time you walk into a Zara store, slow down. Just for a moment, before you reach for a hanger, before you glance at the price tag, before you tell yourself it's just one more thing. Look carefully at the lights, the music, the polished displays, the perfectly arranged collections, the urgency, because almost nothing inside that space exists by accident. The atmosphere, the layout, the timing, the placement of products, even the feeling you experience while walking through the store has likely been studied, tested, refined, and optimized to feel effortless, natural, comfortable, exciting, modern, like you're not being sold something at all. But what if that feeling isn't accidental? What if it's engineered? Because modern fashion no longer works the way most people imagine. It's no longer just about creativity, or fabric, or even self-expression, at least not entirely. Today, fashion is increasingly about psychology, behavior, attention, impulse, and understanding human desire better than humans understand themselves. Companies spend enormous amounts of time studying not just what people buy, but why they buy. What colors trigger emotion? What store layouts keep customers moving? What music creates the right mood? What visual cues make urgency feel natural? What trends generate insecurity? What language encourages action? What pricing feels emotionally painless? What makes someone think, I should buy this now, even if they never planned to, especially if they never planned to? Because in the modern economy, attention is money, emotion is money, urgency is money, and fashion has become incredibly good at turning identity into consumption. You are not simply buying clothes, you are buying possibility, a better version of yourself, confidence, status, belonging, reinvention. The feeling that somehow this next outfit might finally help you become who you want to be. And maybe that sounds dramatic, but look closely at how fashion is sold. Rarely is it about fabric alone. It's about transformation. The ad never says, "Here is cotton." It says, "This is who you could become." Cooler, more attractive, more successful, more desired, more confident. How cheap should fashion really be? Long pause. This was the Magnates Files. Subscribe for more investigations into the hidden systems shaping modern society. Because behind every billion-dollar empire, there's always a darker story.